Well, I can't say I was shocked because we come across cases like this at the Free Speech Union on a weekly basis. Someone says something that offends a group of people in the workplace or just some people on Twitter, and they deluge the employer with complaints. And instead of properly investigating the matter, the employer, wanting a quiet life, just gets rid of the person in question. We recently had to go to bat for a guy called Jeremy Sleeth, who worked as a conductor for West Midlands trains when Freedom Day happened on July 19th last year, and all the COVID restrictions were lifted and the pubs reopened. He said on his personal Facebook account, "Thank God for that. I didn't want to live in a Muslim alcohol-free caliphate for the rest of my life." I mean, I think he was making a joke, not a brilliant joke, but nonetheless not something that means he should have his livelihood ended. But nonetheless, colleagues complained. He was investigated and eventually dismissed for gross misconduct. We helped him take West Midlands trains to the employment tribunal, and he eventually got a finding of unfair dismissal. And I know that the Christian Legal Centre is representing Maureen Martin, and I imagine they'll be equally successful because under the Equality Act 2010, expressions of religion or belief are protected. So you cannot be fired for expressing an orthodox Christian view, however distasteful some colleagues of yours or people on Twitter might find it. So I expect that she'll also win, but it's a huge hassle to have to take your employer to the employment tribunal. I mean, it can take up to 2 years to get a hearing in the employment tribunal, and you need some resources, you need some expertise. Without the Christian Legal Centre, I don't think she'd be able to do this. We need to stop employers reacting in this way to Twitter mobs demanding that employees be fired. I quite agree with Paul. I think this is an issue that trade unions should take up. One of the things the Free Speech Union is campaigning for is an amendment to the Employment Rights Act 1996 to make it impossible for employers to sack employees who say something outside the workplace. That was the case in Jeremy Sleeth's case, and that was the case for Maureen Martin too. If you say something in a purely private capacity or in your capacity as an electoral candidate, as Maureen Martin did, and has no relationship to your employment status, you're not saying it wearing your hat as an employee, the employer should not be able to punish you for that in any way. And another thing we want to try and get changed is to put a statute of limitations on what people can be investigated for. At the moment, colleagues of some people are going back years to try and find things that are supposedly offensive in order to try and get that person disciplined or sacked. We want a 12-month statute of limitations on what you can be investigated for saying in the workplace to try and stymie the offence archaeologists. We need stronger protections for employees and for their speech rights.
Thanks, Toby. Paul?
Toby, yeah, I'm heartened to hear about the campaign to amend the Employment Rights Act. I mean, as a trade unionist, I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. Just tell us a little bit, if you can, briefly about the form that campaign is taking. Are you lobbying MPs? Have you got lawyers on board who have said, this is viable, this could be doable? Have you spoken to other trade unions? Are they likely to support it? I'm sceptical on that final point, I have to say.
We haven't yet reached out to any other trade unions, but it is a straightforward workers' rights issue. And one of the original reasons, as you know, Paul, for the creation of trade unions in the 19th century was to provide better protection for workers so they could speak out against their employers, criticise their working conditions without risking the sack. So it's absolutely in the trade union tradition to stand up for workers' rights. We've got a lawyer drafting the amendment. We're running a campaign at the moment encouraging Conservative Party members to write to Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss asking them to support that amendment to the Employment Rights Act. We've done some polling on it and found overwhelming support amongst the general public for such an amendment. If anyone wants to help us with this campaign, if you're a member of the Conservative Party and you're watching this, there's a tool on our website, freespeechunion.org, which enables you to email Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss asking them to pledge to protect workers' speech rights by amending the Employment Rights Act 1906.
There we go.
And we're hoping that at least one of them will commit to it.